Today's episode is for those who have looked at their chart and thought, what? I don't get this. This doesn't feel like me. Or, oh, I might be doomed. Or, I don't understand how this energy can play with that energy. They don't seem like they should go together. Maybe you've seen a lot of squares or oppositions, or you see a planet that doesn't look like it belongs in a certain sign. If that's you, you are in the right place. I've heard this in so many client sessions, and I've lived it in my own chart. So today I want to talk to you about what to do when your chart feels off. And I want to give you a few strategies to reframe the challenging placements so that you can start living with your energy and not against your energy. So let's start here. You are not crazy for feeling resistance to certain parts of your chart. Sometimes people feel disconnected from one of their big three. Maybe their sun and moon makes sense, but their rising sign doesn't, or vice versa. Sometimes it's the chart itself, planets in detriment or fall, luminaries that are in opposing signs, or multiple squares that feel like internal tension. Sometimes it can even feel like maybe you're doing astrology wrong, or that your chart is somehow a punishment. And I want to say very clearly that none of us are immune from having challenges in our chart. In fact, those challenges are foundational. They are not here to block you. They're here to shape you. And I'll be honest, my own big three have placements and signs that are traditionally considered challenging. My Mars is not only in detriment, it is sitting on the exact same degree as my ascendant, my rising sign. And my moon in Capricorn is not the coziest placement for a moon sign. And my sun's in Aquarius in a way that has just kind of felt like it creates tension for most of my life. In fact, I spent years not feeling comfortable in my own skin, and there's still days that I feel that way. The thing is, I thought that discomfort was a flaw, but now I know it's actually a clue. And that's really the first thing that we have to understand when we see these challenging things in our chart. We have to, one, acknowledge that they're challenges, right? Squares are challenging. Oppositions are challenging. Planets in detriment or fall are challenging. Having your sun and your moon in opposing signs or having them in other placements can be challenging as well. We have to acknowledge the challenges in our chart for what they are before we can begin to reframe them. But once we do acknowledge them, then we get to move to that next step, which is reframing. And that's where the real work and the real magic comes in. So let's come back to my Mars placement. Mars is the planet of action, and it is on the exact same degree as my ascendant, which means that the way I show up in the world is very, very Mars-like. I'm always moving. I am wired for initiation. But Mars and my ascendant are in Libra, which is a sign that Mars, it's considered in detriment in Libra. Mars is not happy or comfortable in Libra. Libra is about peace, harmony, other people. Mars is about doing and charging and asserting, and you can probably imagine that tension that I have felt. It's a push and pull between action and consideration, between go now and wait, how is this going to be received? Between instinct and diplomacy. And here's where it gets really beautifully weird. My first name is Kelly, which means warrior. My middle name, Irene, means peace. I literally am the contradiction of Mars in Libra. And that is my rising sign, the exact same degree. So this reframe for me became, I'm not at war with myself. That was a huge reframe. I am here to be the warrior of peace, someone who leads with courage and grace, who takes action but makes space for beauty and balance in how that action lands. And that did not come overnight. That reframe took me years to land, and I still have to reframe. But once I did begin to do that, everything shifted. What felt like a cosmic flaw started to feel like a sacred assignment. It gave me huge clues into my purpose and my power. So let me give you a couple of client examples too. Somebody with a strong Pisces placement might feel ungrounded or chaotic in a world that demands boundaries and labels and form. But when you lean into Pisces' kind of natural spiritual connection and intuitive genius, that's when you realize You're here to make magic out of the formless. I have a client who has, she's a graphic designer, and she has really strong Pisces and Gemini energy. And she's able to translate those really abstract ideas into visuals that make people feel something. That is a gift. Another client that I have has multiple squares, and squares are tough, but they can also be a call to integration. So, for example, if you have Venus square Jupiter, that might create this push and pull between pleasure and abundance where it feels like there just has to be an overindulgence can be part of that. But when you start to lean into both desires being valid and create a life where expansion doesn't have to require overindulgence, just intention, that's where that square can become a superpower by being intentional about having places for abundance and expansion and pleasure in harmony with one another. The thing is, your chart's not working against you, but it might be asking you to work with it in a way that you haven't been taught to yet. And the last piece of this is where that integration happens, and that's you have to practice the reframe in real life. So I recommend starting with one placement that has felt uncomfortable or confusing or even painful. It might be a sun sign that doesn't feel quite like you, a moon sign where you really don't understand what that says about your internal life or your emotional needs, a planet that's in detriment, an opposition that's been pulling you in two different directions. Start there with one. Acknowledge what's hard about it. Don't skip that. And then look at what else is possible. Mars is contentious, but it's also courageous. Chiron indicates wounding and also healing. Oppositions are tension, but also balance waiting to happen. Squares are friction, but also crossroads where you get to choose your integration path. So ask yourself, how do I live from this new lens? As I've shared, that looks for me like reminding myself that I'm a warrior of peace. I don't have to choose between action and rest. There's room for both. For somebody else, it might be, I'm not too dreamy. I'm designed to create beauty from an intuitive space. Or my Leo brightness does not make me too much. It makes me magnetic. I love to think about the Leo fire as a campfire that draws other people in. Your reframe is yours to find. And once you find it, practice it. That's how you move from knowledge to alignment and integration. So I want to hear from you because this is a really challenging one. What is the placement that has felt the most challenging in your chart? And how can you start to see it differently? If this episode sparks something within you, send me a message or email me. I read every message that comes my way. hello@mosttrueyou.com is the email that I use. Or find me on Instagram and send me a DM at mosttrueyou. I'm not great at posting on there, but I do read the messages. If you want to go deeper, if you want somebody to help you untangle the resistance and help you to see the wisdom in your chart, I would be honored to do that with you. I will leave a link in the show notes along with the email address to book a chart reading. That's always an option. But this is something that I hope you will begin to see that even those challenging spaces in your chart can actually be places where you are called to live in deeper alignment with those places in your chart. So until next time, remember, your discomfort might not be a flaw. It might be the invitation to more deeply aligned living.